The TSMC fire staff launched legal action over a suspected 2-nanometer leak. Chipmaking giant report unauthorized access to the sensitive technology. Taiwan authorities investigating under the National Security Act. The TSMC fire staff launched legal actions over suspected 2-nanometer chip trade secret leaks. And the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, the world's largest contract maker, chip maker, and a linchpin of the global electronic supply chains, has dismissed several employees and launched a legal proceeding over suspected breaches of the internal rules embargoing access to sensitive chip-making information. The company confirmed that the Nikkei Asia that it had detected unauthorized activities during routine monitoring, leading to the discovery of the potential trade secret leaks. The alleged violation involved attempt by the former staff to obtain appropriate details on TSMC's 2-nanometer chip development and production, the report said. 2-nanometer process. A breakthrough in semiconductor technologies. 2-nanometer process is the most advanced semiconductor manufacturing technology process currently under development and is expected to enter mass production this year. And the 2-nanometer process is considered to be highly complex and capital intensive. TSMC, the Samsung Electronics, Intel, and Japanese Lapidus are among the few companies pursuing the technology. TSMC did not specify the technology involved or intended use of the information. Investigations are underway to determine the scope of the alleged leak, as well as the data was transferred outside the company, and if others were involved. The case is now under the judicial review in Taiwan. Also read, the Google's oncoming Pixel phones to use TSMC made Tensor chips. What changes? The global semiconductor leader, headquarters in Taiwan, TSMC manufactures chips that power most modern devices, from smartphones and laptops to servers, automobiles, and industry systems. Its clients include Apple, Nvidia, and Qualcomm, and Amazon and Google. Unlike Samsung and Intel, TSMC does not design or market its own chips, instead of acting as a manufacturing partner for hundreds of the technology firms. With more than 3 times the market share of each leader, nearest competitor, Samsung, TSMC, dominated the semiconductor manufacturing sector. So in 2024, it produced nearly 12,000 chip designs for over 500 customers, with an unusual capacity for about 70 million 12-inch equivalent wafers. Its facilities span Taiwan and the United States, Japan, China, and Europe, including a new fab under construction in Germany. Also, SoftBank pinches $1 trillion AI robotics hub in the US to TSMC Trump team. The TSMC security breach. The legal actions under TSMC security breach is legal actions. Under TSMC, Taiwan's National Security Act, amended in 2022, trade secrets related to the national core critical technologies are protected from unauthorized reproduction, use, or disclosure. Violations can lead to the criminal charges. TSMC reports $13 billion in net profit. For the quarter that ended in June 30th, 2025, consolidated revenue for the chipmaker rose 38.6% year-on-year to NT 933.79 Taiwanese dollars billion. 9.79 billion Taiwanese dollars is as 30.07 billion US dollars, while net profit jumps to 60.7% to 398.27 billion the Taiwanese dollars, and as the 13.5 billion US dollars. Advanced process technologies such as 7-nanometer and smaller made up 17.4% of the wafer revenue, with 3-nanometer and 5-nanometer nodes that contributed 24% and 36% respectively. The company expected third quarter revenue between the $31 billion and $33 billion. $33 billion. It's a drive driven by a strong demand for artificial intelligence and high-performance computing customers. The DOM is the most important news. Okay, the next one is the SK Hynix is reported raising the HBM4 prices by a whopping just 70%. It's capitalizing on a monopolized market by charging a hefty premium for early delivery. The SK Hynix is set to offer each HBM4 process to NVIDIA at a premium price is as the firm has become one of the first to produce the memory type and offer ready solution to the AI industry. The SK Hynix's pricey its HBM4 process is mainly due to the use of the TSMC's 4nm and Beijing being the first to supply it. It seems like the HBM segment is gearing up for the next phase of the AI hype, and it is claimed that the HBM4 will play a vital role in the development of the next generation AI computing hardware, since HBM4 has integrated logic and semiconductors into one package. It's claimed by Korean media that the SK Hynix is expected to raise HBM4 pricing by up to 70%, related to the HBM3E. Citing higher costs and, more importantly, benefiting from the exclusive relations it has with NVIDIA's supply chain. The latest story is that SK Hynix initiated supply of the next generation HBM4 to NVIDIA for Rubin AI GPUs, once again dominated the HBM market, defeating the Micron and Samsung. According to the industry sources of the fourth, SK Hynix reportedly received a unit price of the HBM4 12-layer production of the NVIDIA in the first half of the year and the 500 range, which is 70% more expensive than HBM3E 12-layer products, which were priced at $300. Since SK Hynix was one of the first time to offer the HBM4 supply to the NVIDIA, it ultimately gave the Korean giant an edge over the likes of the Samsung and Micron. So the moreover, the company has been solely supplying the 12 high HBM3E stacks to the NVIDIA for Blackwell Ultra, which means that the SK Hynix has a massive edge here, which has given them the leverage in the price negotiations for HBM4. However, the higher prices are also driven by the complexity in manufacturing the HBM technology, particularly the use of the TSMC's 4nm process as the base die. However, higher prices do not mean the Samsung and Micron can become more competitive with their solutions. And it seems like SK Hynix would need to do a lot more to maintain its dominant HBM market share. Notably, Samsung has seen the massive progress in the 1C DRAM technology recently, and given that the firm has its semiconductor line, they could very well enter NVIDIA's supply chain with HBM4, posing a huge threat to the SK Hynix. It does seem evident that the race for the HBM4 dominance would be a lot more competitive this time. The bright side of Intel Exodus chip startup layoffs said Intel continued to make waves. The leader decided into where some of the smartest engineers and engineering managers are going. However, information had started to emerge with Wall Street Journal story about the chip packaging expert at Intel joining Samsung and each arch rival in the foundry business. The Gang Duan, a 17-year veteran at Intel with nearly 500 patents, is joining Samsung Electromechanics America as executive vice president. His patent portfolio includes micro-bump interconnect and redistribution layer RDL technology. He was Intel's 2024 Inventor of the Year for his contribution to the advanced packaging technologies like embedded multi-die interconnect bridge, EMIB, and glass substrates. He played a critical role in the development of the EMIB technology in package high-density interconnect for heterogeneous chips. In fact, Intel has already developed EMIB in its server CPUs to reduce latency by bridging the CPUs with a high-speed cache. Next, Duan played a key role in the development of the glass substrate, which, unlike its traditional organic substrate, offers lower thermal expansion, superior fastness above the 400 degrees Celsius, and the lower dielectric loss. However, Intel, which introduced the glass substrate technology in 2024, announced to scale back the glass substrate R&D a year later, vowing to seek external sources as part of the cost optimization effort after massive foundry business losses. The reason for Duan's departure isn't known yet, but Intel pulling back from the cutting-edge work on the glass substrate technology could be an important factor. It's no coincidence that Samsung is building a pilot line for the substrate this year with plans to enter mass production in 2027. Glass substrates are considered critical for the next generation chips powering artificial intelligence AI training models. A glass substrate can potentially facilitate on a trillion transistors per chip, says Intel. While Intel's new CEO Lip Tan is under the spotlight regarding the layoffs and the subsequent exodus, it all begins during his predecessor's watch. The $10 billion cost-cutting plan is announced in 2024 while Pat Gelsinger was at the helm. Included the decision to scale back the glass substrate R&D. So the Intel engineers on the move. Beside the Intel engineers joining competitors, a lot of engineers in the middle and senior management are leveraging their well-earned engineering capital to set up and semiconductor startups. Take the easy of Subramaniam, an advanced packaging expert who left Intel in July 2023. Since then, he has helped set up the two startup companies in India, Semiconductor Packaging and System Provider Infinitpac and Workload as a Service, WAAS, provider Reflexema AI. Then there is Ahead Computing, a startup formed by the ex-Intel engineer that aims to develop a breakthrough application processors based on the RISC-V instruction set architecture, ISA. So for Intel veterans, Debbie Mard, Jonathan Pierce, is Sukhikanth Srinivasan, and Mark Dechen is founded his company in Fulton, Oregon, and focused to silicon for the AI and HPC applications and support IPs. The Ahead Computing's co-founder and CEO, Debbie Ma was one of the architects of the Pentium Pro, Intel's first server processor, source-added computing. They all worked at an Intel Advanced Architecture Development Group, AADG, and collectively, their work at Intel amounted to nearly a century. So their motive is to develop the CPU cores that excel in a core performance. Renowned CPU engine design and Tenstorrent CEO Kim Keller has recently joined the board of the directors at Ahead Computing. Another startup story, Bihira AI, has also originated from the Intel engineering hallways. In 2022, Intel kickstarted work on a project to Endgame and a network-based solution aiming to deliver additional graphics power to local hardware. A year later, Intel shelved his work to enable users to stream games from a data center outfitted with Intel GPUs, most likely due to the cost-cutting initiative. A few months before Intel announced that it would put Endgame on an indefinite hold, a senior graphics technology executive in Intel left the company for a startup that aims to become a software provider in the data center space. Raja Kodri left the company after leading Intel's accelerated computing and graphics business for 5 years. Kodri's startup was licensed project and gamble software to build a heterogeneous data center architecture to deliver graphic and AI workload acceleration. The primary goal for each software stack is to provide a diagnostic solution that compete with NVIDIA's CUDA as AMD's RCMs. Flip side of the Intel shakeup. The kind of these two startups provide anecdotal evidence that point to how Intel's flattening of the organization structure and the subsequent workforce crisis leading the formation of the promising new startup. The experienced engineers and engineers managers departing the Intel are utilizing their years of specialized expertise in the new ventures to serve a rapidly evolving the semiconductor industry landscape. In a way, it is also an antidote to the much talk about the study that caused very low turnover at Intel, causing the inertia and a barrier to the infusion of the new ideas despite having world-class engineers and managers. For instance, the study pointed to the staff members who have been in Intel for 14 plus years and have never worked anywhere else. It's worth mentioning that the Intel has recently hired 4 senior executives, including the appointment of the 25-year sales veteran Greg Ernest as the chief revenue officer, Srinivasan Iyengar, who came from the Cadence Design Systems and will now lead Intel's custom chip design business. So the next Gene D.R. Eli Grushi, the new head of AI chips engineering, was previously at Rain AI, a semiconductor startup backed by the OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. And finally, Sheldra Desai, who spearheaded mobile SoC designs at Google, has been named VP of the AI Fabric and Networking. Intel, once synonymous with the speed and execution, is in the midst of the disruptive cycle in which the focus to cut its workforce to become nimble and leaner. And losing of some of its best engineers could be a gain for competitors as well as startups. Okay, so another article. Artists to provide FlexGen start NOC IP in AMD AI chiplet designs. Artelis, the provider of semiconductor system IP for SoC creation, has announced that AMD has licensed the FlexGen network on chip NOC interconnect IP for its next generation of the AI chiplet designs. FlexGen, Artemis Smart NOC IP technology, will provide high-performance data transport in the AMD chiplet, helping to power AI across the company's portfolio, which spans data centers to edge to the end devices. The combination of the Artelis FlexGen and the NOC IP with the AMD Infinity Fabric interconnection demonstrated the complexity of the modern SoCs and the chiplet-based architectures, which now require multiple highly specialized interconnect or NOCs to efficiently meet the demands of the modern electronic system. Commenting the K. Sharar Janak is president of the CEO of Artelis with the modern chiplet, each having between 5 and 20 interconnected network for data transport. As our FlexGen NOC IP will work hand in hand with the AMD Infinity Fabric, accelerate Infinity Fabric to accelerate the performance and the scalability required by the today's depending on diverse applications. Artelis NOC technology is seen as a transformative impact in terms of delivering the next generation silicon solutions for a wide range of the different markets. By integrating the Artelis FlexGen and NOCi technology into AMD chiplet, we can automate interconnect configuration and enable seamless connectivity among SoC components while strengthens our end-to-end AI computer portfolio. Explained in my Dune Farm, the corporate vice president of silicon design engineering and AMD. Artelis is a developer of flexible and configurable network on-chip IP technology and FlexGen. The company Rail Standard IP has been specifically designed to make designing SoC more efficient and to optimize the byte length and reduce latency and improve the power efficiency, and so as to better address the performance needs of the complex multi-die and chiplet-based designs. FlexGen can be utilized as an independent interconnect solution or in combination with proprietary interconnect technology to accelerate design iteration and time to market schedule. Okay, next one. The article is currently unveiled GPS hardware IP, the software startup. The Campbell, California, larger Codely's new GPU software and hardware IP startup, Oxic Labs, is emerging from the stealth with $20 million in seeding funding. Former Intel GPU chip architecture Codely plans to reinvent the entire GPU technology stack, beginning with software and stretching as far as scalable GPU hardware IP and chiplet design tools. Omic presents a portfolio based on the four key pieces of the technology: Capsule, a GPU container technology, and OxPython, a Python module designed to enable encoding portability of four models. Oxcore, the company GPU's hardware IP, and OxQt, a set of tools and the architectural element for configuring the OX core-based chiplet designs. Oxim's product lineup is software first, Codely told the EE Times. Larger Codely, first Omic Labs. Software architectures compatibility has long plagued the AI space with the real risk that new microarchitectures or low-level innovation still nevertheless fail due to the lack of software compatibility. There is a misconception that software problems is just software problems, it's just architecture problems, Codely said. If your hardware architecture is not set up for the software, you can hire a million software engineers to make them type, but it is not going to be solved. This is a problem that all new hardware companies, Codely said, noting that proving our software stacks before implementing hardware is critical. Omic stack will be compatible with both third-party chips and hardware based on each own the GPU IP. While our hardware IP is really our main focus, the software ecosystem is very important, Codely said. We need to start building an ecosystem for our IP ahead of the IP showing up in silicon, because the silicon chips cycles are long, and the partnership with the other companies helps establish these tools with developers. The GPU containers. At the highest level of Omic stack is Capsule's dynamic GPU container technology that abstracts away hardware complexity when deploying on the heterogeneous hardware. Codely said that the team started with the endgame's orchestration rail technology, previously licensed from the Intel, and with significant changes from the gaming-oriented endgame. There were some valuable lessons, but the need for compute were very different, he said. There are elements of the endgame in Capsule, discovering a new network of the GPU, understanding their capability and their utilization and how to schedule them. We leverage that know-how, which are completely thinking for the compute side. The Capsule's roadmap include features to analyze workload in order to assign the optimal compute in a cluster based off the KPIs like speed and cost. However, in its current form, the Capsule is mainly intended to do what Codely calls easing the access burden, or simply enabling the developers to access different types of the hardware. Omic uses the Capsule internally, Codely said, noting the company's 25 engineering and the couldn't like without it,